Order. Somebody have their, okay. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss the city manager's contract. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Jerzak?
Here.
Councilmember Craigness?
Here.
Councilmember Lawrence Anderson?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Mayor Graves?
Here.
Perfect, we have a quorum.
Before we get started, I'd like to just try to read a statement to sort of set the tone for a respectful, open discussion. I want to take a moment to speak not just as your mayor, but as someone who cares deeply about this city and takes the responsibility seriously that we all carry together. I know that each of us is here because we care about Brooklyn Center. We care about accountability, safety, and outcomes for our residents, and I don't question that commitment. What I do need to name tonight clearly and respectfully is the impact of how we are exercising our oversight, particularly toward professional staff and community partners. Oversight matters and questions matter. Accountability matters, as does consistency, fairness, and tone. When questioning becomes repetitive, when it centers credibility rather than performance, or when it communicates doubt in the expertise of qualified professionals, it can create harm, whether or not that harm is intended. It undermines trust, destabilizes the organization, and makes it harder for people to do the work we ask of them. As leaders, we are responsible not only for what we decide, but for the conditions that we create. We must be able to look honestly at whether we are holding all departments and leaders to the same standards with the same level of respect and good faith. Our staff are not abstract. They are people who have dedicated their careers to public service. They deserve clear expectations, fair process, and professional respect, just as we expect those things for ourselves. I'm saying this because I believe we can do better and because our city needs us to. We cannot lead from suspicion or allow governance to drift into punishment rather than stewardship. Brooklyn Center deserves leadership that is rigorous, equitable, and humane at the same time. So my ask tonight is direct, that we pause, reflect, and choose a path that upholds fairness, consistency, and dignity, not just in principle, but in practice. The decisions we make and the way we make them will define this council and will echo long after this meeting ends. I'm asking for us to lead in a way that strengthens the city, protects its people, and reflects the values we claim to stand for. And with that, I would also request that we make time on our agenda for public comment.
No.
I had the feeling you might say that, so I would like to say, can we, with compromise, make room for some public comment within reason, like 5 people, 15 minutes?
If we can't speak, shut it down. If we can't speak, shut it down. If we
I think the community deserves to have a voice.
shut it
At
down.
least 5
If
people.
we can't speak, shut it down. If we can't speak, shut it down. If we can't not speak, shut it down. If we can't speak, shut it down. If we can't speak, if we can't not speak, shut it down. If we can't speak, shut it down.
I think
If
it's
we
fair to
can
have
speak,
a short.
if we cannot speak, shut it down.
What's your point of order?
I want a motion to clear
If
the
we can
chamber
speak,
so that we can do our
if
business.
we cannot speak, shut it down.
I want a
If we
point of
can
order.
If we can speak, shut it down. If we
Is there a
cannot
second?
speak, shut it
It's
down.
been,
If we can speak,
a motion's been made.
if we can speak, shut it down. If we cannot speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we cannot speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we cannot speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut it down. If we cannot speak, shut it down. If we can speak, shut
An alternative would be to give a chance for at least 5 people to speak.
Cannot speak, shut it down.
I'm going to call order to the chamber, Mayor Graves?
I'm trying to keep order in the chambers. I'm
No, you're
asking.
not.
Yes, I am. What do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to do? My desire was to give space for a couple community
Then we
voices.
can go ahead and do a motion regarding the city manager contract.
If we
Go
can
ahead and do
speak,
that. And do roll call.
if we cannot speak.
I'm respectfully asking again to let community, at least 5 members of the community, speak for 15 minutes. You don't think the community deserves to have their voices heard in this process? If you feel so good about your decision, why can't we let 15 minutes of public comment happen? If you're so confident about your decision, what's the problem with letting 5 people speak for 15 minutes? You can still vote exactly how you want.
Point of order, they have spoken, they have provided feedback to council members and others already publicly. They don't need to here.
That is not true.
I still think that it would make sense to keep the order of this meeting together to allow the public a short chance to speak. And I don't think that that's too much to ask for.
And if we can't speak, you won't speak. So what are we doing?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to,
Go ahead, Councilmember
in order to
Craig.
keep the peace, I think I am in favor of letting the public speak at a certain amount of time frame, so that way we can compromise and have.
So will you make a motion for a specific time period?
I make a motion that we allow the public to speak for 15 minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Take the roll, please.
Yeah, take the
Madam
roll.
Mayor, clarification? How many and how many minutes apiece, or just a total? Can one speak for 15 minutes?
No, 15 minutes for however many people we can get through with each person having 2 minutes, which is typical. We'll set the timer. Whoever was the first 5 people that signed up. Have people notified you? No?
We were told we weren't going to be able to.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilmember Craigness.
there's been a motion in the second. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Jerzak?
In the interest of allowing the community to speak, and I hope it can be orderly, because this is solely a decision of the council, I will say yes.
Councilmember Craigness?
Aye.
Councilmember Lawrence Anderson?
15 minutes. Yes.
That's right.
That was aye.
Councilmember Moore?
No.
Mayor Graves?
Aye.
4-1, motion passes.
All right. All right, we will open for public comment. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Dr. Ethan Capers. I'm a resident of Brooklyn Center for nearly 20 years now. And I work with members of our public with Health on the Go, doing public health and trying to help our city thrive. Members of the council, neighbors, fellow Brooklyn Center residents. Cities don't succeed because of slogans. They succeed because of steady leadership, disciplined management, and people who know how to run complex systems under pressure. Brooklyn Center has not had the luxury of easy years. We've navigated a pandemic, public safety disruption, the microscope of national scrutiny, and the pain of deep community strain. All the while, needing the basics done right, services delivered, budgets balanced, and employees supported, and the rule of law respected. Dr. Reggie Edwards stepped into city leadership during that exact period, not after the storm, but in the middle of it. The question before us is not whether or not everyone agrees with every decision made during that time. In a city under pressure, no serious leader gets universal approval. And that's not the role of the city manager. The real question is, did Brooklyn Center have competent, disciplined management when it mattered? Most. And without a doubt, in black and white for anyone to read, the record says yes. All you got to do is Google. Dr. Edwards has overseen real municipal operation, managing a workforce of roughly 160 employees with a budget exceeding $20 million. That means payroll, contracts, public safety coordination, infrastructure, and accountability, while the choices and directions that the elected leaders were making often seem conflicted and reactionary.
It's 2 minutes. Thank you, Ethan.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Adrian Gould. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of the community. My name is Adrian. I've been a resident of Brooklyn Center for 29 years. I grew up here. I live in my family home, but my roots here are deep. My investments in the city is measured in time, relationships, and lived experiences. Residency is not just the lesser form of belonging. City leadership and management matter, not just in policy, but how people feel navigating their lives here. When leadership reflects the demographics, history, and lived realities of the community, trust grows, civic participation becomes possible. Too often, the discussion of racial harm and exclusion are framed as Southern issues, as injustice stopped at the Mason-Dixon line. But communities across the North, including here in Minnesota, were shaped by sundown city practices, redlining, exclusionary zoning, and informal systems of removal. Those histories did not disappear, they evolved. Today, they show up in leadership pipelines, decision-making power, and whose participation is treated as optional. When leadership is removed improperly or without transparency, it reactivates that history. It affects morale, it fractures trust, and it reminds longstanding residents, especially people of color, that belonging can feel conditional. That is why this moment feels different. Since Dr. Edwards and LaToya Turk have been in their role, I have felt more connected to the city than any other point in my nearly 3 decades here. Participation has felt genuine, not performative. Lived experience has been treated as expertise. I have had opportunities to serve my community in meaningful ways, participating in the police chief interview process, engaging with the Immersion Brooklyn Center, and contributing to civic spaces that recognize residents as partners, not spectators. Most recently, my son participated in the North Star Leadership Academy. What stood out was not just what he learned, but what he saw. Leadership that was accessible. Civic systems that were not closed off, that experienced directly influence and decision to run for student leadership at Minnetonka High School.
That's your
That
time.
is the generational.
That's 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Adrian.
My name is Jude Nadi. I've been a resident of this city for over 20 years with my family. I will start with just some of these indices. So Brooklyn Center home value is around $261,000. So other neighboring cities around our city, Brooklyn Park is $313,000. Crystal is $281,000. Robbinsdale, $280,000. New Hope, $314,000. Fridley, $277,000. And Champlain is $338,000. And Maple Grove is almost $400,000. So with this, we have the lowest housing stock in terms of value around surrounding cities. And with that, Edward came in at the peak of crisis, April 2021, when Dante Wright was killed. So we know some of us were jumping from here to the Humboldt Square, trying to douse the tension, and the whole world, the orbit, the focus was on the city of Brooklyn Center, from CNN to BBC to all media. And then some of us worked so hard with the city manager, Dr. Edward, as he became the city manager. The first thing he did was to douse the tension, and he called all of us, to come and articulate the best way for the city of Brooklyn Center. The first thing he did was to secure over $500,000 for peace, for stability, for health of this city. So he continued to bring us together, and we continue to work with him. So some of us, when you guys were not even on this seat, when we are taking that bullet, making sure that things work pretty well here. And Dr. Edward, he's just one of the few doctors who are city managers in this country. And he's one of the few black city managers in this country. He's very smart, he's very dedicated, he's a loving guy, we love him, and he loves us. And that's why you see the community here supporting him. So please, we know what's going on in this country, we know what's going on in this city, we know what is happening here with him.
That's your time,
Even
Jude.
Today. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So even today, I know that
Thank you, Jude.
people were taken out from this city. So we don't want another crisis coming from this center. We are working together to make this place.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you. I rise here today in support of our city manager because leadership is not about comfort. It's about courage, results, and accountability to the people. Under the city manager leadership, Brooklyn Center reached historic milestones. He negotiated the largest downtown rights settlement in history, helping our city begin a process of accountability and healing. He secured over $650,000 in foundation funding for community transformation, something this city has never done before. For the first time, we saw Evolve BC and Emerge BC, programs designed to lift community voice and develop leadership from within. Programs that were later dismantled, but whose impact cannot be erased. For the first time, Brooklyn Center celebrated Juneteenth, honoring Black history and culture in the city. That too often ignored it. July 26 was another example of his leadership, something that has never happened in the country, and Brooklyn Center was recognized for that. He expanded free and reduced fees access to our community centers, increasing participation for kids, families of color. He secured a local option sales tax opportunity, bringing new revenue to our city. He brought the State Senate Bonding Committee to Brooklyn Center, another first. He didn't just talk about engagement, he practiced it. From mock community budget exercises to the creation of a community crisis response team, to contract with community residents as interveners. This administration proved that community expertise mattered. For the first time, residents were invited to real dialogue about police, fencing, K-9 units, drones, conversations that would not have happened without the leadership committed to transparency and community voice. We saw community created. Anyway, I don't want to go over this time, but I'm here today to say you all need to listen to community voices. We voted for you, our voices matter, and you have to listen to what we want and what we need.
Thank you, Alfreda.
Hi, Mayor, Council, Marquita Butler, 30-year resident, recently served 8 years on the City Council with most of you. I was fortunate enough to serve with Dr. Edwards. I was really disappointed when people started reaching out to me about what was going on, but I wasn't surprised. What's happening at Brooklyn Center isn't different than what's happening across the country. White fragility, racism. Instead of coming together and moving the community forward, Paul Wellstone said, when all of us do better, when all of us do better, we all do better. And instead of focusing on what's going to move this community forward, all that's happened is dissonance. Dr. Edwards is one of the most qualified people to be in this seat. And unfortunately, what I saw in my time is that education didn't matter. I saw microaggressions against our lawyer from people that don't even have a basic education. Okay? And so when people get educated, people are intimidated. But Dr. Edwards, I want you to keep your head up high because they've already made their decision. We're here today to support you. History is going to show those of us that were on the right side. That's the great thing about the council meetings because they're recorded. And we were on the right side. I'm really disappointed that tenant protections are being stripped away because I spent hours with people that were being disenfranchised. And while you all go home in your warm homes, there's people being put out unjustly. And again, history will show who was on the right side. So I feel for those of you that have been on the right side and that you have to be, this has to go on your record. But so God bless you, Dr. Edwards.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we have room for two more.
Huh?
Two more.
Two more?
We started at 5:40.
Okay.
My name's Julie Burke. I'm a resident of Brooklyn Center. I've lived here for 16 years. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Every time I hear that quote, I think about those in proximity to me who lead with graciousness, humility, curiosity, integrity, and deep respect for those they serve. I don't know that I could find better words to describe how Dr. Edwards has led here in Brooklyn Center. Dr. Edwards, as was said before, is one of the few city managers across the country with a PhD, and he's also only 3% of Black city managers in the United States. Why does that matter? Because representation matters. We are one of the most diverse cities in the state. As a white-bodied individual raising a black child, I can tell you there are things about her lived experience I will and can never understand, and that is why I surround her with people who can help her understand that part of her, who can understand her culture, who can understand her lived experience. Dr. Edwards chose our community intentionally because it was a reflection of where he grew up. Where he came from, and he wanted to make impactful changes here with the skills he had acquired. He could have gone elsewhere and made more, but he chose Brooklyn Center even when it's been hard. No matter how much crap has been thrown at him, he has chosen to stay. He inherited a mess of epic proportions and has done an incredible job working to not only clean it up, but help us heal and make it better. He's been creative with budgeting, creating positions that meet the needs of community and our youth, while also ensuring our police and fire departments have been able to grow as well. He has been supportive of the initiatives they have brought forward, whether it be adding drones, a police canine, therapy dogs, or new positions. More residents are accessing our community center than ever before, and intentional programming has helped decrease complaints and increase safety at our parks. He has allowed people to be heard in ways they have never been heard before. He's been intentional in curating spaces to give individuals with diverse thought processes a place to come together. And 5, compromise.
Thank you, Julie.
Our community is better because of him.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. I'm here to be honest. I want to talk about what real commitment looks like, because too often that word gets used lightly by people who never actually paid the price. For years, Dr. Edwards drove to Brooklyn Center for 2 hours each way, day in, day out, through Minnesota winters that everybody knows are terrible. But he did it anyways, not because it benefited him, not because it was comfortable, not because it was something easy, because he believed in what the city was worth. That drive wasn't symbolic, it was a real risk that he took every day. And belief that forces an uncomfortable truth. You cannot put a city first while surrounding yourself only with people who think like you. Life doesn't work that way, growth doesn't work that way, and communities don't work that way. Progress is built not in chambers, it's built in tension. It's built by listening to the voices that challenge you, built by people who are willing to be uncomfortable and willing to be questioned. So I want to be clear. When decisions are made only to preserve comfort, control, or agreement, that is not selflessness. That is not service. That is a selfish desire, one that only breeds loss, fractures trust, and creates problems so deeply rooted they become impossible to undo. Dr. Edwards has seen multiple sides of life. He understands struggle because he has walked through life. Thank you. This city does not need more explanations. It doesn't need any more delays. It needs someone who's willing to confront and create change. So in this moment, it's not about whether Dr. Edwards is ready to lead. That record has already been answered. The real question is whether this city is ready for leadership that cannot be controlled by comfort and commitment, that exposes the difference between saying you care and proving that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's our 15 minutes. I'm not going to make the motion to close it, so one of you should.
I move to close the open public forum.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Jerzak?
Aye.
Councilmember Craignas?
Nay.
Councilmember Lawrence Anderson?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Graves?
Nay.
3-2, motion passes.
All right. Before we go into the next item, discussion of the city manager contract, I would like to request that we make sure that after our vote, we give time to Dr. Edwards for him to make a statement that he is requested to make. I believe he deserves at least that.
That's fine.
Okay. We're open for discussion on the contract. Who would like to start the discussion?
Lori.
Go ahead, Councilmember Moore.
I have no discussion. I was going to make a motion, Madam Mayor.
I have discussion then.
Are you,
So if someone wants to actually do discussion, then
do you have a statement, Councilmember Craignis, you'd like to make?
I do.
Okay.
One, I wanted to thank the council for allowing the public to speak without interruption, and I hope that would be the case as well with me speaking. Due to the scope of this meeting, the council may discuss not public data without liability or penalty. I want to be clear that my comments today are limited strictly to facts, policy, and process. During the closed session in which the city manager's performance evaluation was discussed, statements were made by members of this council regarding potential termination of his contract. Specifically, Councilmember Moore stated that termination would be pursued because the city manager had recently terminated the director of finance. At that time, I raised the concern that terminating the city manager for taking a personnel action related to staff performance could constitute retaliation, which is not permitted under law or council policy. I also want to note that when the completed performance evaluations were compiled, the city manager received an overall rating of exceeding expectations. Based on those facts, I do not believe termination for cause is supported by the performance record, nor is it consistent with the principles of proper governance. Additionally, Councilmember Jerzak stated that the finance director had to be probed, but she was ultimately forthcoming with information. I want to reiterate that the council policy requires council members to interact with staff through the city manager. Any deviation from that structure raises serious governance concerns, abuse of power, and risk undermining established checks and balances. It is important to me that performance standards and disciplinary actions are applied consistently and fairly across the organization. Finally, Councilmember Lawrence Anderson did not complete the city manager's performance evaluation, stating, I quote, "It was not worth my time." This raises serious questions as to why a council member who assisted in creating the city manager's evaluation process would choose not to participate, while simultaneously expressing dissatisfaction with the city manager's performance, yet declining to meet with him one-on-one or complete the evaluation design to assess that progress or that performance. My responsibility as a council member is to ensure that decisions are grounded in facts, policy, and law. That is why I'm speaking today. Respectfully, Councilmember Dr., because I have a PhD as well, Tanisha Cragness.
Thank you, Dr. Councilmember Tanisha Craignis.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilmember Jerzak.
may I request a point of order? I didn't understand what the allegation was. I've never had any contact directly with the former finance manager. Could you please restate that?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead, Councilmember Craignis.
Keep in mind, I am an accountant, so I do fact check everything that I say that I heard. Councilmember Jerzak stated, so this is what I heard you say, that the finance director had to be probed, your words exactly, but she was ultimately forthcoming with information. That is not my opinion, that is what you said.
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Jerzak, go ahead.
Yes, I did say that. I would like to place it into context.
No, you said it. It's on record.
Okay, I yield.
You said it.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Councilmember Jerzak.
I want the record to show that it's out of context.
Madam
Go ahead, Councilmember Craignis.
And I also want to reiterate, in November of 2022, when Councilmember Jerzak and I ran together, I also will quote you as stating that you ran with me because of my ethics. My ethics have not changed.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Jerzak, go ahead.
I'm not questioning Councilmember Craignis' ethics in one bit.
Let's try to keep, go ahead, Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to terminate the contract of the city manager immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? I would like to know, and I think the public deserves to know your reasoning, why you're choosing to terminate.
I do not have to give a reason.
We need to know.
Would anybody else want to put on the record their reasoning behind this?
Mayor Craig.
Go ahead, Councilmember Lawrence Anderson.
Thank you. On advice of our city attorney, I am not making a comment.
Would any other,
For me, on advice of counsel.
can you clarify?
I'm not sure what.
Another council member had received that information. I
think,
I don't need an explanation. I do not.
okay.
So,
There's a motion and a second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I have one more comment. I have one more comment to make before we do the roll. It's been moved and seconded. And I'm just going to say this, that across multiple meetings, I've seen heightened and repetitive scrutiny that's been directed towards certain professional staff, including Dr. Edwards, as well as other community partners that either differ noticeably from the oversight applied to the police and finance departments in comparable settings. It often takes place in the form of repeated requests for justification or explanation after information has already been provided, questioning that explicitly challenges professional expertise or credibility, escalation over time without a corresponding record of documented performance failure, and by contrast, in the police and finance items, they more frequently reflect deference to professional judgment, fewer follow-up challenges once information is presented, and questions framed around implementation rather than legitimacy. This has governance implications. Oversight is a core responsibility of us as council members. However, when oversight becomes uneven or escalates without clear process, it can undermine council manager governance norms, create instability for staff and contracted partners, erode trust within the organization, signal inequitable standards regardless of your intent, and effective governance requires not only accountability, but consistency, clarity of expectations, and respect for professional roles. The separate scrutiny, particularly when directed toward leaders and partners serving prevention, community health, and non-law enforcement functions, has equity implications. The impact is magnified when those leaders are disproportionately Black professionals or community-based organizations. Even absent explicit bias, patterns of deferential treatment can reinforce inequitable outcomes, including burnout and attrition among qualified leaders, chilling effects on innovation and prevention work, and reduced confidence among our community partners. The public record shows an increased questioning and escalation towards specific staff and partners. It also shows an inconsistent application of oversight norms across departments. So I just am putting that on the record and letting you know that the public record does show that. And I have more proof that I will be bringing up later. The roll, go ahead with the roll.
Councilmember Jerzak?
Could we have the restated, please, the motion?
Yeah, I made a motion to terminate the employee agreement or contract with the city manager effective immediately.
No, unacceptable.
It was moved, and did you second that?
No.
Councilmember
I did.
Lawrence Anderson.
Councilmember Lawrence, okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Jerzak?
Aye.
Councilmember Craigness?
Nay.
Councilmember Lawrence Anderson?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Graves?
Nay.
3-2, motion passed.
All right, I'd like to turn the floor over to Dr. Edwards. Please, everybody, be quiet so that Dr. Edwards would like to make a statement. Dr. Edwards would like to make a statement. Quiet in the chambers, please.
Honorable Mayor, council members, residents, and staff, I stand before you today with a heart full of gratitude and a deep sense of pride. My 9.5 years serving Brooklyn Center has been defined by a simple yet powerful mission: to lead with excellence, to act with integrity, and to ensure that every resident feels engaged, empowered, and heard. When I look at the work together, the work we've done together, I see a community that chose togetherness and unity over divisiveness during difficult hours and difficult times. Together, we navigated unprecedented trauma and global pandemic and a painful weight of civil unrest. Yet we did not just survive. We built something new. We launched authentic engagement opportunities like what was mentioned is our budget, mock budget, Evolve and Emerge BC, that developed the cities as well as developing the city strategic planning, ensuring that your voices were heard. We sparked joy with the I Love BC campaign, filling our street banners with youth, adults, and elders smiling, reminding us all of the beauty of a diverse community that lives within the borders of Brooklyn Center. In a moment of crisis, we pioneered the Community Crisis Response Team, an historic cooperative effort bringing both together police, social workers, schools, protesters, and faith leaders to find a way forward. I am personally honored that I have helped secure that $650,000 to support a city when we didn't have it and that we really needed it, this support. Behind the scenes, I have had the privilege to lead brilliant, gifted staff. Together, we modernize our city's operations by creating processes and programs such as our Health on the Go, and such as the Department of Community Prevention, Health, and Safety, and expanded response, or expanding our models in which we respond to 911 calls to meet the diverse needs of our residents. We developed and publicly reported the actions to achieve our strategic priorities. Staff from across the organization helped to complete 92% of the 64 different efforts aimed at achieving our mission. This was a first for the city to measure and to report out accountability. We began to take on training of all the people managers in the organization. Finally, we added equity to our human resources, where it now functions entitled Equity and Human Resources. Most importantly, we improved government, that government can be compassionate and fiscally responsible by delivering one of the lowest tax increases across the metro of only 4.78, while maintaining high-quality services. It is a bittersweet moment. On Monday, as Councilman McCragness articulated, I received an annual performance review from the City Council, where I rated as having exceeding expectations. It is therefore unfortunate, on the heels of such a positive evaluation, that my contract is not being renewed. I carry the honor of being the only city manager of African American descent in the state of Minnesota, among 834 approximately cities, and only 2 in the history of Minnesota. This distinction affords me the chance to inspire hope for those who have been historically marginalized, and the opportunity to share my personal experiences and my stories with youth as promising future civic leaders. It pains me to think that the momentum that we've worked diligently to build, the vision of a new, empowered Brooklyn Center, may be dwarfed by short-sightedness and divisiveness. While this chapter is ending prematurely, my resolve remains unchanged.
I know that's right.
The work we did was never about one person, never about me, but about the people of Brooklyn Center. I leave this position with my head held high, knowing that I've served with integrity and dedication, that we moved the needle forward for justice, transparency, and good governance. It has been a great honor, the greatest of my professional life, to serve the people of Brooklyn Center. I know we will continue to win. We've already won. My son, who eloquently spoke to you earlier, shared this with me from Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When our young people so wisely consults us, when my son tells me, Dad, do not fear, and quotes Bible to me, we've won. We've won. Thank you for your trust and your partnership and your belief in me and your heart. Thank you.
Shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. We know who next, right? We know who next. Shame on you. Shame on you. You and you. We know who next because you've been after us. And you're going to continue to go after us, but it ain't going to be that easy.
Mayor.
I want you to know that.
Go ahead, Councilmember Moore.
Shut it down.
I want,
Shut it down.
we have to
We have nothing else to hear from you.
we have to designate.
We don't want to hear
city
from you.
manager.
The meeting is
Designate
over,
what?
Laurie. You did this in Crystal, and you came to destroy our city.
Yeah,
You
that
did
needs
this
to be
in
done.
Crystal. I remember you. I remember you from Crystal. It's over. I don't need to hear you. Not anymore. You have nothing
Yes,
to
we
say
do.
first. You have nothing to say now.
Excuse me, Mayor, can I get a point of order?
Point
I'm
of order.
talking.
No. If we don't get it,
I make a motion
this
we
is our
adjourn.
city. This is. I'm talking now.
There's a motion to adjourn.
I'm
It's been
talking
moved
now.
and seconded.
Point of order to what?
Councilmember Jerzak.
Aye.
Point of order to what?
Regnes.
Aye.
To what? You had nothing to say. Laurie, you
Aye.
had nothing to say. You destroyed Crystal, and you're here to destroy Brooklyn Center as well.
Councilmember
Aye.
What is your
Sorry.
point of
Mayor
order?
Graves.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Council will have to find time to, I think that the default will just be to Darren, right? That makes sense.
We will have to have those conversations later, guys.
All right.